All right, good Friday morning. It looks like my microphone is working. Last week, if you watch regularly, you may have noticed that there was no devotion. The devotion was actually up for about 5 minutes until I realized there was no sound. So hopefully that is fixed for today. If not, I'm going to leave this up so you can just see my lips moving and just maybe just sense the devotion. But anyway, real quick, I want to just talk briefly about what our role is in church, our role on the team. One of the greatest teams ever assembled, in my mind, is the '92 Dream Team. And being a basketball lover, it had the best of the best on that team. And what made them so spectacular was not only were they the best of the best, but they played together and they completely dominated everybody. Now, I know their competition wasn't what it would be today, but they played great. In reverse, back in 2004, they once again got together what they would call the Dream Team. They had some really famous Hall of Fame players, even had a Hall of Fame coach, but something just didn't work. They didn't work together. They didn't all fulfill their roles, and they ended up with a bronze medal despite being full of NBA talent. And so they end up not doing their best. And as Christians, we're supposed to function very different from this. In 1 Corinthians 12 and 13, it says, just as a body, though one has many parts, but all its many parts form one body, so it is with Christ. For we were all baptized by one Spirit, so as to form one body, whether Jews or Gentiles, slave or free, and we were all given the one Spirit to drink. And so the church is supposed to be diverse. It's supposed to be diverse in race. Why should our churches be diverse in race? Well, because heaven is going to be diverse in race, and God created us to look different. And so, yes, our churches should be diverse in race. Our churches should be diverse in background. We shouldn't all be the same. It doesn't make us better. We don't grow from that. We all need to have different backgrounds. We need to be diverse in our abilities and what we would call our gifting, our spiritual gifts. If we all have the same spiritual gift, it doesn't do us any good. If everybody can play the piano, but nobody else does any other jobs, well, that doesn't help us very much function as a church. And so we also need to be diverse in our passions. It's great for someone to have a passion for children's ministry. But if everyone has a passion for children's ministry, what happens? Well, yeah, our children might be fed really, really well and taken care of really, really well. But then all the other aspects of the church are going to fail. And so we have to have different passions when it comes to the church. So it's okay if someone is different. That's a wonderful thing. And it continues in verses 14 through 18. Even so, the body is not made up of one part, but of many. Now, if the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I am not an eye, I don't belong to the body, it would not for that reason stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? But in fact, God has placed the parts in the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. And so Paul is using this image of the human body to just kind of describe how the church, the body of Christ, is supposed to function. Each part is valuable, from the eyes to the feet to the ears to all these things, to the hands, and they all serve a very significant role. Matter of fact, when I was teaching the teens, it talked about the different roles of the body, and there's this bone somewhere up in there. If you're a doctor and I got that wrong, I'm so sorry. But it's called the floating hyoid bone. It's found only in humans. The hyoid bone is the only bone in the body that is not connected to any other, and it is the foundation of speech. If I did not have that bone, I could not talk to you today. And some of you are saying, boy, I really wish you didn't have that, but I have it. So without this bone, we would lose the ability to speak. And so are you a thumb? Are you a bicep? Are you a hyoid bone when it comes to the body of Christ? And so certainly he continues in verse 19, if we were all one part, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, but one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you, And the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable, and the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. And so there's this conflict that Paul presents because certain parts of the church don't understand each other. They might say, I don't need you. That's as silly as saying as a person doesn't need hands and feet. They just need one or the other. Or a baseball team doesn't need a pitcher because the pitcher is not supposed to hit. It doesn't make any sense. A soccer team doesn't need a goalie because they don't score. No, they have a different role. And so it's pretty ridiculous. He continues in verse 24, but God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have an equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. And so certainly we need to make sure that we understand the role of the body of Christ and we understand what our role is in the body of Christ. Are we fulfilling our role in the body of Christ? If not, I think we need to make sure that we find it. You know, even when you teach teenagers, they have a role in the body of Christ. We see it every Sunday morning, whether it's music or helping with kids or whatever it is. They have a role, and we need to make sure that we encourage young people to get involved early, serving in the church, because they are the church. I think part of the problem is we get this concept of, well, someone else is going to do it, they're going to handle it. Whereas we need to make sure that we are all involved. We're all vital. Even if you don't think you're vital, you are vital. There are so many things I think that we faced in post-COVID. I know that as a church, we are essentially in the post-COVID timeframe because things have changed. The way we function has changed. Some things better, maybe. Some things worse, for sure. We need to plug back in to the roles that God has given us and get involved. So what is your role? What are some ways that you can get involved in your church? What are some ways that you can use the gifts that God has given you? If you don't know your gift, try some things. Figure it out. 1 Corinthians 12:27 says, now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is part of it. It doesn't say the pastor's part of it, the only part of it, the youth pastor is the only part of it, the deacons are the only part of it. Each and every person that comes through the doors is a vital part of the body of Christ. So go do it. Go join. Get involved. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and may God bless.